Today we're going to be making baby blocks, and these are a couple of the ones I made before. These I embroidered a couple of numbers onto. And then this one is just a plain solid colored one. These are really simple to make. All you really need is to create a bunch of squares like this one and then sew them all together. This blue one is going to be smaller than all the others, and I've already made the other sides. I need one more, so let's do that one together. Okay, so our blue square is the smallest, and it's going to start with just regular worsted weight blue yarn and a 4.5 millimeter hook. So let's start by making our slip knot first, just like that, and inserting our hook into the knot. Let me move this out of the way. So our first foundation chain is going to be 11 stitches. So let's start by chaining 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, perfect. Okay, now that we have our starting chain, we're just going to work in single crochet, and we're going to work 10 single crochet across the line starting from the second chain in the hook, from the hook. Let's skip this first space and single crochet down the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and here's the last one, 10. Okay, here's our first row. Oops, here's our first row. Now, just chain 1, turn, and single crochet along the row again. Again, I'm just going to work 10 single crochet. These squares are really easy, and they're a great way to practice stitches. So if maybe you want to use a different stitch, or you just learned a different, textured stitch or something, you can make a square just repeating that stitch over and over and continuing to work on it. And you can create a cube like this, like a baby block, but we can have each side a different stitch or a different texture. Whoops, single crochet. I was about to half double crochet. Okay. But for now we're just going to use single crochet just because it's simpler and because we want to just show you how to actually make the block really. So again, end of the row, now chain 1 and turn. That's 2 rows. We're going to continue doing that for 12 rows total, so work 10 more rows, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so after I've worked 12 rows, this is what I have. I've already measured these beforehand, but if you need to work different rows based on your tension, feel free to adjust it a little bit to work more rows or fewer rows. Basically, all you really want is to have a perfect square. So here's my tape measure. I've already measured this before, but my square is 3 inches wide. Let's see if I can take it out and show you. See, my square is 3 inches wide, and that's based on how many stitches I cast on, or I started my foundation chain with. So I want something that is also 3 inches high. If I need an extra row, I can work an extra row. Okay, 3 inches. Perfect. So now we're going to work on the border. So let's start by finishing this last row. I left the last stitch unworked so I can show you how I changed colors from the blue to the white. You insert your hook like you normally would and pull up a loop. Now, instead of yarning over with the same color and pulling that color through, we're actually going to cut this yarn. Here's my scissors. We're actually going to cut the yarn, leave a little bit of room, and we're going to attach the new yarn by using that to yarn over and start the next stitch with. So just hold it there and pull through with the new color. So now you can see I have a tail of the old color and the tail of the new color together. So now for the border, what you're going to do is you're going to work into the sides of each row. So for the first stitch, we'll work into the same stitch. So just insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up, work your single crochet. Now for this next stitch, we're going to be working into the gaps for each row. So here's one gap, 2, 3, 4, basically just working along the sides. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, and single crochet. Now you're going to single crochet all the way along this side. And then when you get to the corner, you're going to chain 1. But let's do this one side first. You could make this cube without doing this row, but I like the white contrasting against the colors, and our seam between each of the squares is also going to be white, so I like having something there beforehand. Okay. Make sure you loosen your yarn as you go. Now, we have one more stitch right here. Okay. Now at the corner, you're going to chain 1 and then turn to work along this side and work into the next space right here. So insert your hook, yarn over, and single crochet. Now continue that along this side and this side, and then when you get back to the top over here, you can just work into the top of the stitches like you normally would. Then you can bind off and weave in any loose ends. Then I can show you how to connect the rest of the squares. You're going to need 6 of them in total. So let me do that now and I'll come back. Now once you're bind off, you're going to have a couple of tails. You don't have to worry about this one because it'll get worked in later. But for these, it's better to trim them just so they're out of the way. So get your scissors and just trim them. Okay. So for this cube, we have 6 of these squares. And we're going to arrange them so that first we're working with just 4. And we are going to attach them side by side like this. We're going to seam this side, these touching edges together, and we're going to do that by working a row of single crochet to join the 2 of them. Okay, we're going to work together like this. We want the edge to be raised rather than flat. Normally we want something flat, but for this we want it raised so that it makes that cube shape more prominent. So let's get our yarn. I'm using the same white yarn that I used, and I'm just going to make a slip knot to start with. And grab my hook. So first, you're just going to insert your hook into the corner of both pieces, that corner stitch. Okay, now put your slip knot onto your hook and tighten it, and now just pull and bring that loop through. Okay, now you can do chain one to start off, and basically you're just going to hold these two together and you're going to work a single crochet going through this loop and this loop for each. So rather than going through both loops like this, like you normally do for one stitch, you're going to go through 2 full stitches as instead of loops. So insert your hook under 1 and 2, pull a loop through both stitches, and now that you have 2 loops on your hook, chain single crochet. Now just continue that all the way through. All the way to the corner, so this is the last one, and you're working under that chain 1 from each corner. Now single crochet, now bind off here. Leave a little bit of a tail, and just bind off. Okay, now you can see that these two are connected and the seam between them is a little raised. Makes a nice sharp corner. Okay, so now continue doing that with the next 2 until you have like a strip of these connected, and then we'll come back and do the top and bottom sides and then bring it all together to make a cube. Okay, so now we have our 4 squares joined together. There are a bunch of tails, but don't worry about them right now. Once you've attached the 4th square, don't bind off just yet. We're actually going to start attaching the 5th one now, and it's going to form the top or bottom of the next side. So after you've worked going this way, you've worked your single crochets this way, you're going to end up here. Now hold the next square right there along one side of the 4th square and just continue. You're going to insert your hook, underneath, underneath both stitches, 1 and 2. I'm going to pull up a loop and single crochet. Now you can single crochet along this side now. Alright, now just continue working that the same way as you normally would with all the others, and your 5th one will now be attached. Now you'll have 4 in a line and then 1 over here. Just make this loop bigger so it doesn't open up on us. but this is how it's going to turn into a cube now. You have this is going to form the bottom, and now you can work this around like this. One cube along each side of it, and that's going to form the base of the cube, and then we can add our last one on top. So, where's our yarn? Right here. So now what we're going to do is bring that circle around, bring that all the sides around like this, and work along one side. You can either work on this side going up, or you can work along the bottom, whichever one you want really. I'm going to work along the bottom because then I know that this side is secure. So do the same thing, just work the same way, single crocheting the two sides together, going along this side, and then this side. All of these extra tails and stuff, you can just tuck them inside the cube and don't worry about them. That's what I love about projects like these, because then you don't have to actually bother weaving them in, because the whole cube will be closed and it'll be full of stuffing, so they're not going to come out and you don't actually have to do anything with them. So let's start. I'm going to start right here, insert through one, and then this corner. Make sure to get both parts of the corner. Pull your yarn through and single crochet. Now just work all the way down the line, and I'll meet you back here when I'm done with that. Okay, now we're almost done with the side. I have a couple stitches left, so let's just single crochet the last few together. I'll show you what it looks like so far. Two, and then I'm gonna work one right into this corner right here. It's not really a space there, but just insert your hook, go under the white, and then pull up a loop. Now slip stitch that, and we can bind off here. Leave some tail, and just cut that right there. Okay, now remove your hook, pull that tight, and you can see how I didn't even weave in any ends here. There's this one, but other than that, you don't see any more ends around this bottom edge because they're all now inside the cube. So let's just tuck this one, use our hook, and pull it onto the inside of the cube. So that's also hidden. Now, for the last side, we're going to attach, we're going to go back up this side and attach the last square to close the cube. But before that, we're going to add some stuffing. So first, let's work on this, and let's get this side done. Just attach new yarn and continue single crocheting up the same way we've been doing this whole time. Now that you've worked along the side, I'm going to add the top part of your cube. And you're just attaching it the same way you've attached all the others. Just single crochet each side along together. So let's align this first side. Oops. And first let's do this side, and then we can add the stuffing in and make sure we get it all the way into each of the corners. Try not to overstuff it, otherwise it'll end up more round than square, but make sure you get the corners so that those stand firmly. And then you can just continue going all the way around, bind off, and then you're done. It's exactly the same as we've done before. Okay, now we're at the last side. I've done all the other sides, I've tucked in all the ends inside the cube, and I've added my stuffing. Now I just have to work this last row and then tuck the tail from this side back into the cube. So we can do this side together. Same way we've been doing this whole time, just single crochet along, working through both pieces of fabric. And this is our last one. Or we can do one more right here. This one we're going to do a slip knot, a slip stitch, and bind off. Pull that out, and you can just insert your hook anywhere along the side to go into the cube. Let's see. Oh, right there. And grab the end and pull it. Now you have the body of the tail mostly inside, and this little one you can just trim that off. Now here is your finished cube. You can make a few more of these and you can have a set of baby blocks. You can also embroider something onto each side if you want, or you can just leave them plain. Whatever you choose. Here is your finished cube.